What is culture?
Culture is how you live your life based on the environment and that you're in and like how your parents raise you.
What is your culture?
My culture is very much so Louisiana culture, like lots of food, jazz, the Saints, stuff like that.
What makes your culture?
I was born and raised in Louisiana, so that definitely is the reason why I have Louisiana culture.
What is your culture?
My culture is Louisiana food and style and music and all that kind of stuff.
What is culture?
Culture is the way of life for a group of people, or basically like what influences your life.
What makes your culture?
My family and the stuff I've grown up around influences my culture, along with the location, like where I live and stuff.
What is culture?
Culture is what everybody else is doing, what is the whole group, and then individual culture is like what you do, what you believe, and what you really like in your life.
What is your culture?
My culture, I'm Christian, so I consider myself part of Christian culture. I'm also consider myself an intellectual because I love to read so much, so I'm part of that culture. And I love theater and music, so I'm also a part of that.
What makes your culture?
As in, what do you mean what makes?
Like what influences it and what shapes it?
Well, my faith influences it. My family helps me with my faith a lot, so they're big influencers. All my teachers who have helped me get to where I am in music are big influencers on me and what I aspire to be one day. And any historical figure whom I admire and who I really like, I consider them also influences in my life.
What is culture?
It is how you live and what you learn throughout your life, which shapes you into who you are.
What is culture? What is your culture?
My culture would be like my family and the food that they make and all of that stuff, I guess.
What makes your culture?
My environment, like, I don't know.
What's your environment?
Like my family and where I live and stuff like that.
What? What is culture?
It's the way that your life is influenced based on your environment and who you're around.
What is your culture?
Probably the food in Louisiana.
What makes your culture?
The people I'm around, my friends, my family, my school, and sports and everything.
What is culture?
Culture is like what makes up you, like your feelings, your thoughts, and stuff about your life.
What is your culture?
My culture is mostly sports, food, music, and religion.
What makes your culture?
My culture is mostly based on religion and family.
What is culture?
The way you act based off of your surroundings.
What is your culture?
I live in Louisiana, so eating seafood and supporting the Saints.
What makes your culture?
Following my parents' beliefs in Louisiana's culture.
What is culture?
The beliefs, forms, and traits of a certain group.
What is your culture?
My culture is Louisiana culture, even though I grew up in Oklahoma, most of my life is spent in Louisiana.
What makes your culture?
My friends mostly, and my parents' beliefs that I follow.
What is culture?
I think culture is probably heritage of people that live in a certain region, and we also probably could say culture is a heritage of people on earth, and that would be world culture, something that everybody shares. And then of course in each region and country and city there is subculture, of all those people who live or lived in that area. And I think it's probably literally everything: history, traditions, food, arts, it all certain perceptions and all of those things that are passed from generation to generation and from mentors and teachers to their students, and then everything that's being added to that by the young people and new people that come in into the culture. So
What is your culture?
my culture is probably heritage that I have been exposed to, which would be, of course, the Russian heritage and the heritage of the families of my dad and my mom, They are also diverse because my mom is more of a truly, of course, Russian Slavic person and genes, right, that came from her. And then my dad is, a lot of his family are actually Jewish, not by religion mostly, but by heritage, so by traditions and all of those, where they lived, of course, you know, until they moved to what was Soviet Union before. And of course, everything that I've learned and seen, and everyone I've met in the States as well.
What makes your culture?
Of course, like I say, all of these things that I've experienced and have learned.
Sorry, there's a spider. There's a spider.
No worries. Something that I've learned from both being exposed to all my mentors and teachers and just people I've met. And I've been very, very blessed to actually, of course, live in 2 countries already. And then I've met many people too. And in those countries, I've traveled different regions, and I have been to probably about 11 states. So I've learned a lot from doing that as well. And this is probably why traveling is so cool, is because you get to be exposed and learn, and hopefully integrate some of the things that you otherwise wouldn't be exposed to as much.
What is culture?
Culture is how we grow up and how we're influenced by our friends, our families, our food, like where we came from.
What is your culture?
My culture, I mean, I grew up in New Orleans, so I've grown up around a lot of jazz music, and I've grown up about New Orleans food, mainly like spicy food and well-seasoned food, and just my friends and family.
What makes your culture?
What makes my culture, especially in the food department, is my mom. My mom learned how to cook from my grandfather, and he really was like into like soft shell crabs and seafood and stuff, which is very New Orleans and grows in our culture a lot.